Minnesota Original is made possible by the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
On this edition of Minnesota Original, Newbery Award-winning children's author Kate DiCamillo shares her thoughts about childhood and what inspires her to write. Visual artist Frank Big Bear tells stories with unusual shapes and a vivid palette. The Jayhawks perform at First Avenue to celebrate the re-release of their first album after 25 years. Now on Minnesota Original.
Kate is, as you know, is the author of some of my favorite books, and I'm sure some of yours, Because of Winn-Dixie, Tiger Rising, The Tale of Despereaux, The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane, The Magician's Elephant, and a bunch of books about a pig who loves toast. Ladies and gentlemen, Kate DiCamillo.
I am happy and proud to say that I've gotten to the point in my life where when I sit next to people on an airplane and they say, "What do you do for a living?" I get to say, "I'm a writer." The Curlin collection is at the University of Minnesota, and anybody can go in and ask to see, the rough drafts of a book that you loved when you were a kid. I've never put these gloves on before. It makes me think of the scene at the end of Gone with the Wind when Melanie's dying, but that's not relevant. Okay, all these boxes have nothing on them except for my name, DiCamillo Kate. Oh, this is Because of Winn-Dixie, which is my first book, second draft. I'm going to read this. 2 onions, 4 garlic bulbs, serendipity, and a dog named Winn-Dixie. I think that was the title in the beginning. It doesn't bode well. This is a very simple story about a girl who finds a dog in a grocery store, and through that dog meets a lot of other people in town. Chapter 1. My name is India Opal Baloney, and last summer my daddy, the preacher, sent me to the store for a box of macaroni and cheese, some white rice, and 2 tomatoes, and I came back with a dog. This is what happened. I walked into the produce. He started to cry. The dog leaned over him real concerned and licked his face. "Please," said the manager, "somebody call the pound." "Wait a minute," I hollered. "That's my dog. Don't call the pound." All the Winn-Dixie employees turned around and looked at me, and I knew I had done something big and maybe stupid too, but I couldn't help it. I couldn't let that dog go to the pound. "Here, boy," I said. "Looking good, Henry. You're looking good." I know that I never would have written that book if I hadn't moved from Florida to Minnesota, because it is so much a book about being in a new place and being homesick, and it's very much a product of that move. It was the first time in my life that I'd been for a considerable period of time without access to a dog. Henry, we're not going to take some facsimile. Roll down. Okay, roll over. There's a line in Because of Winn-Dixie where Opal says, "Everything that happened to me that summer happened because of Winn-Dixie." Everything that happened to me as a writer happened, because of Winn-Dixie. So, lucky me. Yeah. All of a sudden, things seem a little bit more possible. And you know where I go? And here. Once a week, my publisher packages up the letters that come from me from readers and sends them to me. I'm going to read this one. "Dear Kate DiCamillo, I really like the book Tale of Despereaux. It was the first real, underlined, story I've ever read. I usually say, quote, 'Sure, that's a regular story,' end quote. But for yours, I say, 'Wow, period, real story.'" How can you not save something like that? I wonder if she would be willing to blurb my books. Some stuff that kids send in the mail sometimes. This is one of my favorites. That's a line from Despereaux. I honor you. Drew a mouse on the back of it. Me and my mom, my father took that picture. I like having it in the office because that small person is part of the reason that I write, I think, to make the world safe for that kid. There's that kid again. There I am in my Bugs Bunny costume. I loved school. I loved staying inside the lines, all of that. You know, nothing about me is very artisty. So I went through, you know, all of, you know, kindergarten through 12th grade just being, you know, a really good student. Everything was easy. And then not so much. It was very hard for my mother to go to the grocery store. You know, grew up in a small town and, you know, I had gone off in clouds of glory. And it's like, what's Kate doing? Oh, you know, she's working at a campground. And I floundered all through my 20s. I was existing in this kind of like alternate reality, going around wearing my black turtleneck, muttering to myself about how I was going to become a writer and not writing. I worked at Disney World, I worked in a greenhouse, and everywhere that I went, I was seeing things that were kind of off of the mainstream, and it helped me understand ultimately myself better, but also just the human heart in general.
Great. She wants to know if you can try to sign her ears, too.
Sure. I'm all about signing ears. When you write for kids, people expect A, that you have kids, which I don't, or B, that you take your stories to kids as you're working on them and vet them, which I don't. And so there's always this puzzled, how do you get into the head of a 10-year-old kind of question? And the answer is, well, I was one. Have you read this, Abby?
At school.
At school? Because you had to?
No.
Okay, good. Kids ask, where do you get your ideas? I say I always have the notebook with me, and sometimes things pop into my head. Sometimes I see things that I think will become stories. A lot of times I'll overhear snatches of dialogue when I'm in a public place. Into the notebook. Beware of the notebook. Let's go deeper into my subconscious. Now you can see my how my gross motor skills are not what they... This always came up on every report card of mine, and I'm not lying. Kate is a very intelligent little girl. She cannot use scissors. That was like the... And here's the evidence. I don't know how to get this off of here. Tale of Despereaux is the story of a mouse who is different than other mice. Because of that, incredible things happen to him. My best friend's son asked me for the story of an unlikely hero with exceptionally large ears.
Are you a rat?
No.
A mouse?
I am a gentleman.
I will have parents point out sometimes how much sadness and sorrow is in my books. Would it be possible for me to have a last word with the princess? Despereaux asked. A word, said the second hood. You want a word with a human? I want to tell her what has happened to me. Geez, said the first hood. He stopped and stamped a paw on the floor in frustration. Cripes, you can't learn, can you? The voice was terribly familiar to Despereaux. Furlough, he said. What? Said the first hood irritably. Despereaux shuddered. His own brother was delivering him to the dungeon. I would hope that there's actually a greater amount of hope and laughter and love.
Will you promise to finish your story and tell me how it ends?
Yes. It will be my quest.
Your quest? You are a very brave mouse.
For some reason,
Thank you.
there's this mistaken notion that kids don't exist in the same world that we do.
Let the games begin.
And they're not seeing the same things that we see. And so therefore the harder things, the more difficult things, the terrible things are just invisible to them, which I just think is absolute nonsense. They're here, they're human beings. Their hearts get broken the same way ours do. I used to say that any kid who gets on a school bus every day knows everything that you need to know about terror and fear and darkness. It's just, the world is hard. The world is beautiful, the world is hard. Fiction is duty-bound to reflect the world as it is, I think. Oh, this is fun. Much more fun to look at art than it is writing. Rough sketches from Chris Van Dusen, the artist for these. It's very fun to see. When I was a kid, and I, as a reader poking around in the library, learned that if that Newbery medal was on a book, then I was guaranteed a good read. You know, when they called and they went through their spiel, and I said, I need for you to say it again. Because I live in my head. You know, I'm imagining things all the time. Call a neurotic person and tell them they've won the Newbery. It's like, did I imagine that? And it does virtually guarantee that the book will stay in print, which is huge. You know, I'll be gone, the book will still be here. It's great. I did something constructive, you know, which is something that my mother suggested to me often. Why don't you do something constructive? I did. I think that writing books for kids, and this is a pretty dangerous thing to say, I guess, but it's really important. It matters. The stories that you read when you're a kid take on this huge potency that lasts for the rest of your life.
This one's for me. I read this when my gerbil died.
I don't just read it and say, oh, the person's sad, oh, the person's happy. I actually feel those emotions.
To actually see the kids, it never gets old for me. It's an astonishing experience every time. It's a physical evidence of the last 10 years of my life. I want to keep going. I want another cart.
Now on mnoriginal.org.
Ultimately, what To Dance is about is how dance actually relates to you as an individual.
When I was 18, this one counselor at North High, he asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said an artist. And he says, oh, you want to be more than that, don't you? I've been driving cab for 31 years and trying to do my artwork. Some of the drawings I do are maybe the curves and the lines and stuff might have something to do with the freeways and the streets. When you look at my drawings before they're colored in, they look like intersections. Every artist is influenced by a lot of other artists, and but then you got your own images, what you want to paint, what moves you. Everything I do is my culture. I draw people I know and landscapes, and a lot of times in the earlier years it was my children. This is my daughter here, my youngest daughter, Cricket. When she was a baby, she'd rub her feet together all the time. So the name stuck. I look at some of the older work and I like the concepts. I could tell that I was driving cab and the work wasn't real polished, but the concept came through real good. I think drawing, that's what I started to do first, was draw. and it helped me as a child, probably to deal with my problems. I'm not out to shock people. I think that's already been done by everybody else. I just wake up in the morning and I feel inspired. I think I have to paint and draw every day, do one of them, or else I get restless, or calms me down a lot. Without it, I'd probably be lost.
Well, good evening, Sunday night Minneapolis people. How are you?
Thank you very much for coming.
Early, mid-'80s, everybody in like kind of the rock world kind of knew each other. And then one day, I went to the Embers and Mark was there having like a late night breakfast or something. And he said, my new band's playing down the street at the Uptown next week if you want to come see us play. And that was the Jayhawks. And I missed the show, but I joined the band.
Well, when we started, one of the reasons I wanted to play with Gary and Mark Perlman and Norm is that they were guys that had jobs and they had cars, and they seemed like if I played with these guys, good things were going to happen.
Substitution. Outside drums to the Jayhawks, Norman Rogers.
Norman Rogers, and I used to be a drummer for the Jayhawks, and they've invited me to play a couple songs in the show. It's pretty surreal, yeah, sitting up there and looking at those guys. It's like we're all trying to remember how the songs go. I probably have a leg up on them because I've been with us listening to the CD.
Well, Norm, you know, after started going, it sounded really natural, and I realized I was playing the songs wrong.
And we were both playing the songs wrong. And Norm schooled us.
He schooled us. I mean, you know.
Norm still got it, man.
Still got it.
Yeah.
You came and you gave without taking. The best was yet to come. I know where I was forsaken.
I think we started as a folk band, a very loud folk band with, you know, like feedback and really, you know, not necessarily a purist folk band at all. We're still loud. Ask Mark. Ask Mark. I'm a loud guitar player. I try not to, but it's just I get that perfect tone if it's at that certain. You hit that sweet spot, and I always will go over at Mark and see if I'm pushing it too much, and he usually says it's okay.
It's folk rock. It's the folk rock dilemma.
We started in '85. I think it was February of '85, and Mark left in 1995.
People ask me why I left the Jayhawks, and I was in the band for over a decade, and I guess this happens to people. I will fully admit it. I was physically and spiritually burnt out. I put everything I had to do it, and I was burnt out, and I needed to refuel. And it's unfortunate. I maybe should have taken a break, but it is what it is. And they went on to do 3 good records, and I went on to have an exciting time.
What happened, and you know, we both, like you said, lived interesting lives, and we both came back to this having explored the world and brought our experience back to each other.
I've been walking in circles, a new start, a new place to live. Saturday morning on Sunday Street.
But no matter what, when we play together, just instantly good things happen. You know, whether we're writing or just playing, just
yeah, it's a real good relationship. Yeah, we just hit it off musically. It just kind of flows.
Knock me down, pick me up, set me in a row.
The harmonies are a very important part of the band. It's the songs, and then the next thing probably that people notice are the harmonies. People used to ask us, you know, do you guys sit and practice and work out these harmonies? And certainly we practice, but it's just usually just happens. So it's just, you know, chemistry is a good thing. I think we have what they call the univoice, which is actually a third person who's created by the sum of the two of us, and it's just our voice.
We have
together.
him over for dinner every now and again, and feed him watermelon. He likes watermelon.
If the harmonies vocally are working, it's the best feeling in the world. I mean, you can feel it inside, in your chest, in your heart, and it resonates in there. And that is the best. And that's why, it's almost like this is why you're up here. This is why you're doing this, you know?
Mark was living up above the Day by Day Cafe, and I was living over by McAllister. And I had some ideas, and I came over, I said, Mark, help me write this song. I can still see we'd do this thing where he'd walk over into the other room and he'd sing something and he'd be over there. What did you just sing? And I'd say, well, Women Like Thieves or whatever. And he'd say, I thought you said that. You know, he misheard, and what he misheard was actually better. And that song took like, well, I was gonna say 5 minutes, but probably really to write the song about half an hour, but that happened so quickly. It's a very vivid memory.
People really like that song. And sometimes it's a little daunting, you know, they just love that blue. And we play it every night.
I've gotten a lot of people to say, my dad played me your stuff. And I love when I hear that. Not only that it's passed on, but that they shared this moment, you know, this father-son or mother-daughter, that we were in a room with them together is a big deal. to me. I don't know how many stories I've heard of us bringing people together, like we're like eHarmony or something, you know. So as musicians, a lot of times you can feel it's selfish because you sit and write these songs like, oh, poor me, or blah, blah, blah. And then you find out that these songs helped you, other people, and all of a sudden you feel like, oh, maybe I'm doing something for somebody other than myself, which is very fulfilling. The Jayhawks music has done a lot of good for a lot of people, and I think it's a meaningful band to a lot of people. So I think we need to make some new music and keep making new music.
Coming soon to Minnesota Original.
Some of the machines that we have, we've purchased and we find at the local thrift stores or church rummage sales or people's basements.
Minnesota Original is made possible by the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.